Hi, Gabe here from West Coast SCI Physiotherapy. Today we're going to do a series for older adults to keep you healthy and safe throughout your life. These exercises are based on the SAIL program, which is staying active and independent for life. We're going to start with some sitting exercises, so be at home with a nice solid armchair. As always, remember to subscribe and like our channel to stay on top of our latest releases. Safety tips for level 1 SAIL exercises. Do only the activities you feel safe and comfortable doing. Sit tall through all the activities, preferably in a firm chair with armrests. Keep breathing normally. Do not hold your breath. Hold position means hold for about 3 seconds. If necessary, begin with just a few of the activities, but do them several times a day. Over time, add more activities until you are doing all of them. Also, over time, do more of each activity. If any of these activities add to your pain or shortness of breath, stop and rest. Do less another day. Talk with your doctor or other healthcare professional. So this first exercise is heel and toe lifts. So we're going to start first by sitting in a nice comfortable chair. Your feet will be flat on the floor, relatively close to you, so your knees are bent approximately 90 degrees. And what we're going to do first is lift your toes. So while keeping your heels on the ground, I'm going to lift my toes, hold 3 to 5 seconds, and relax. So again, heels stay on the floor, toes raise up, 2 to 3 seconds, and back down. I'm going to repeat that 5 times. And again, pain obviously is an indication that maybe you don't need to go so high, or maybe you not do it with one foot, but just do it with the other foot. Okay, next one, we're going to do heel raises. So I'm going to keep my toes on the ground this time and lift my heels off the ground. Again, 2-3 second hold and back down. So again, the height doesn't really matter, but you're trying to go as high as you can. So you want to lift your heels as high off the ground as possible. Hold for a few seconds and repeat about 5 times. So a couple ways to make this harder. 1, increase repetitions, or 2, you can increase the amount of time you're holding. So for example, you can do 10 repetitions, or instead of holding it 2 to 3 seconds, you can hold it for 5 to 10 seconds. Alternatively, another way to make this more difficult and to get your brain working a little bit more is to alternate. So on one foot, I'm going to put my toe on the ground and the heel up, and the opposite side, I'm going to lift my toe and keep the heel down. So it's kind of like you're marching. Maybe that's a hard way to explain that. You're doing opposite on each foot. Maybe that's a better way. So instead of doing the same thing on each foot, you're doing the opposite. And again, 5-10 repetitions, depending on how difficult you want to make this on yourself. This exercise is called marching on the spot. So again, sitting in a nice solid armchair, hands on your armrests. What we're going to do is lift one leg off the ground as high as you can, hold for a second or two, and back down. And opposite leg, same thing. So what we're going to do with this is practice maybe 10 to 15 seconds of marching, and then you have a rest. So you rest for a few seconds, whatever that rest is for you, it really doesn't matter, and then you're going to repeat. So we'll do several bouts of 10 to 15 seconds marching, and then you can have a rest. The thing with this is if you're getting any pain or pinching, you don't have to lift so high. So if you're unable to lift as high as I am, you just lift whatever you're feeling comfortable with, and then have a rest. To make it more difficult, you basically repeat more rounds of the 10 to 15 seconds. So again, after a short rest, I'm going to continue. So ideally, you want to try to do this for a couple minutes with, again, working out and then resting in between. Again, pain can be a limiting factor. So if you're noticing pain, again, you don't have to go for quite so long. If you're feeling any pinching, sometimes what you can do is just not lift so high. And again, so I'll just give you an example of not lifting so high. You can just hopefully clear your foot off the floor. And what you're definitely trying to do is at least clear the foot off the floor. The height doesn't really matter, but the higher the better. This exercise is a breathing activity. So first one, I'm going to place my hands on the side of my lower ribs. And what I'm going to do is practice breathing and taking deep breaths. What we'll do is deep breaths in through your nose, and again, an exhale through your mouth. So I like to pretend you're breathing in or smelling in the roses through your nose and then blowing out birthday candles. The hands on my ribs is to help make sure that I'm expanding through my ribs and not breathing through my upper chest. So what I'll do is breathe in through my nose like I'm blowing in or smelling the roses, holding for a second or two, and then blow out the birthday candles. So ideally what you want to do as you're breathing in and out, you want to feel your rib cage expand as you breathe in and then compress as you breathe out. So we'll try that again. Breathe in through your nose, smell the roses. Hold a second or two, and then exhale like you're blowing up birthday candles. Try it again, in through the nose. What you want to make sure is that you're not breathing too quickly. If you're breathing too quickly, you're going to feel lightheaded and possibly dizzy, and that's definitely not what we're trying to do. And the important thing is in through the nose, hold at the top, breathe out through your mouth, pause for a moment, and then repeat that cycle 3 to 5 times. Try one more time, in through the nose, hold, and breathe through the mouth. So here's a progression of the breathing exercise, and we're going to do it adding some arm movements. So like the breathing exercise, inhale through the nose, hold, exhale through the mouth, and then again hold. But this time I'm going to clasp my hands together at my sides, and as I inhale through my nose like I'm smelling the roses, I'm going to bring my arms up, and as I exhale like I'm blowing out the birthday candles, I'm going to bring my arms down. So here we go. So in through the nose, hold, and exhale through the mouth. The height of your hands doesn't matter so much. It's as much as you can tolerate. And then out through the mouth. Try that one more time. Again, your pain or any discomfort in your shoulder will dictate how high you bring the hands. The height doesn't matter. Higher the better, of course, but you go as high as you can without causing increased pain through your shoulders. I'll do one last repetition for you here. In through the nose, pause, and out through the mouth. This next exercise is called letters in the air. So what I'm going to do is lift my leg up and use my leg to draw the alphabet letters in capital. So with my right leg, lifting it up, I'm going to try to draw the letter A, and then rest. And then my left leg will do letter B, and then rest. And then again, repeating the whole letters through my legs. And I'm using my legs, not just my ankle. As you can see, my whole leg is moving and not just my ankle. So the amount of letters you do is entirely up to you. Obviously, the more letters you do, the more challenging this is. And again, if you're finding pain, discomfort, you just do as many letters as you want. Obviously, you can also rest in between the letters. You don't have to go as quickly as I am. And if you want to actually make it more challenging, you could do multiple letters with the same leg. So for example, I could do A, have a rest, same leg, B, and have a rest, and etc. And I could do the whole alphabet with one leg and do the whole alphabet with the following leg, again, at your pace and depending on pain and activity tolerance. Another way to make it more challenging is to make the letters bigger. So for example, I'll show you with my left leg, I'm going to do an A, but just make that letter A really large. Have a rest, a B, and again, I'm just making that letter that much bigger. The bigger, the harder, your choice how hard you want to make it. And again, your choice on how many letters you want to do before having a rest in between. This exercise is called tap dancing from sitting. So I'll start with the easy basic version and add ways to make this more difficult depending on how much you want to challenge yourself. First off, I'm going to just start with heel taps out in front of me. So straighten out my knee, tap my heel, rest. Other leg, tap my heel, return to start position, have a rest. So here's the easy version. If this is too easy, you can make it a little bit faster. And again, I'm just tapping my heels and returning. What I could do, start with 10 repetitions, and again, slowly add more repetitions to make it more challenging. Here's another way to make this more difficult. You're adding different patterns of your feet. So I start with my heel, return. I go to the inside of my foot, return. So I'm just doing different angles of my hip and your toe tap. So I'll do opposite leg, so heel, return, inside of my foot, I guess that's outside of my foot, sorry, and then toe. So you can choose which angles feel most comfortable. If, for example, you're finding this outward tap is too painful, try the inward tap and see how that feels. If you're finding reaching behind with your toe is too painful, you just avoid it. So if the heel is all you're able to do because that's the way that feels comfortable, then you stick with that. So another way you can make this more challenging is trying to lift one hand. So I'm going to keep my hand in the air and do my heel taps. Works on your sitting balance. If one hand in the air is very easy, two hands in the air and do my heel taps. If you want to make this even more challenging and challenge your brain and keep your brain sharp, what you can practice is counting backwards while heel tapping. So for example, I'll start from 100 and count backwards. So 100, 99, 98, 97, and depending on how much you want to challenge yourself, you can practice counting backwards by threes, for example. Again, more challenging and working that brain a little bit more. But again, 100, 97, 94, 91, etc. This exercise is called buttock walks. So again, sitting in a nice solid armchair, what I'm going to practice is literally scooting forward in my chair by moving one buttock forward at a time. So what I'll shift my weight slightly to my left and then bring my right buttock forward, shift the weight over to my right and bring my left buttock forward. And I'll repeat several times till I feel I'm on the edge of the seat, while obviously being safe and not falling off the chair. And then I'm going to repeat going backwards. So shifting over a little bit, scooting my buttock on that side forward until I'm back on the back of the chair. So ideally you'll repeat this a few times until you go all the way to the front of your seat by shifting your buttock slowly one way and then slowly the other, and then repeating back. So I'm kind of walking with my hips actually. This is a great way to practice scooting, we call it. And another great way to get to the edge of the chair if you're having trouble sitting or standing from sit. One way to make this more challenging is to lift one hand up. So I'm going to lift one arm off the chair and use more of my hips to do the movement. And again, you're relying less on your arms and more on your legs. And then back again. And if you want to make that even more challenging, I'm going to lift both arms and rely fully on my hips and work a lot on my seating balance. So again, ways to make this more challenging. Not necessary though if you're struggling with this, the first version, and that first version again is with both arms on the chair. But again, just ways to make this more challenging as you feel stronger and more capable. So this exercise is buttock lifts and sit to stands. So what I'll do is make sure my feet are nice and close to me. So obviously I don't want my feet out. I want them actually underneath my chair. Hands on my armrests. What I'll do is lean forward and just pretend I'm standing, but not quite lift my buttocks up at this point. I'm going to push my heels down to the ground, but not actually lift, and then relax. So again, I'm going to lean forward, push my hips or my feet into the ground through my heels, push a little bit off, but not lift my buttocks off the chair, and then repeat. So lean forward, push heels through the ground, tense my muscles, and then relax. I'll do that one more time. So I'm pushing my heels through the ground, leaning forward, and relax. If that's too easy, we're going to lift the buttocks off the chair by doing the same stuff with a little bit of drive through the hips. What I'm going to do is lean forward, drive my heels through the floor, and lift the buttocks off the chair. And of course, I'm using my arms as well. I'm pushing down through my arms, through the heels of through the floor, and lift my buttocks off the chair. If that's still too easy, we can do the full stand. I'm going to show you with a chair here. If you use a walker, obviously you could use your walker in front of you. You could also use the table if you have a table beside you or a countertop too. Make sure you're positioning yourself in a safe place before you do the full stand, if you're having trouble standing and balancing, of course. So get my feet nice and close to me, underneath me ideally. I'm gonna lean forward, drive my heels to the floor, lift my buttocks, and do the full stand. Grabbing onto the chair or a walker, depending on what you've got. When I sit back down, I'm gonna reach back to find the armrests and help myself slowly lower down. The reason of doing that is twofold. You wanna make sure that you've got something to grasp onto to slowly lower yourself down. And you wanna make sure also that you are aware of where the chair is so you don't make a mistake and miss your chair, obviously, when you're sitting back. I'll do one more, lean forward, drive through the heels, drive through my arms, lift the buttocks up, nice and straight through the hips. I wanna have a nice straight line on my body when I'm standing up, chest nice and tall, grasping onto the walker or the chair in front of you. Again, I'm gonna reach back, find my armrests, and slowly lower myself back down. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments if you have any suggestions for future videos. If you enjoyed what you saw, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.